When the sun comes up on America, across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
And welcome to it as we kick off Daybreak for a Thursday. Glad to have you here. A lot of territory to cover today, so let's get right to it. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, abortion rights activists are launching a midterm media blitz, spending tens of millions of dollars for an issue that, for all intents and purposes, has been settled, but they need the fear factor in election year. Number two, in Venezuela, devastation from back-to-back earthquakes. 7.3 and 7.5. They came less than 40 seconds apart. President Trump promising immediate aid to the devastated region, including Caracas, the nation's capital. And number three, New York Democrat voters this week sent a chilling message to the rest of the country. While much of America was focused on national headlines, the city's primaries delivered a sweeping victory for Mayor Zohran Mamdani's endorsed slate of hard-left candidates, and let's call them for what they are: Marxists or communists, or as they like to say, democratic socialists, but there is no difference. Brad Lander toppled incumbent Dan Goldman in the 10th Congressional District. Daria Liza Avila Chevalier, a DSA community organizer, defeated longtime incumbent Adriano Espaillat in the 13th, and Claire Valdez secured the open 7th district seat. These were not ordinary wins, folks, not at all. They represent the accelerating popularity of communism, indistinguishable from democratic socialism, and radical Islam. This is no longer fringe. It is mainstreaming within one of our major parties, and it should alarm every citizen who values sovereignty, assimilation, and Western liberty, and yes, America itself. This wasn't a collection of moderate reformers tweaking policy. These victories reflect a coordinated ideological machine replacing traditional Democrats with revolutionaries who view America's borders as immoral, its economy as a vehicle of redistribution of wealth, and its culture as something to be overwritten by globalist grievances and imported identities. The warning signs are unmistakable, and they echo the painful transformations already visible across Europe. Let's examine what these new faces actually stand for. Claire Valdez, the DSA-backed assembly member now advancing to higher office, made her priorities crystal clear during the campaign. Here is an example.
So are we ready to free Palestine? Are we ready to abolish ICE? Are we ready to win Medicare for all, housing for all, and unions for all? I know that's right.
Yeah, this is not a platform for governing a complex city or district. It's a radical manifesto. Elevating free Palestine as a core issue imports foreign conflicts into American politics. Medicare for all means massive tax hikes and government takeover of health care. Abolishing ICE is just code for erasing any meaningful border enforcement. Housing and unions signal heavy redistribution of wealth and rent controls that destroy supply, empowering labor bosses at the expense of economic freedom. New Yorkers just rewarded this perverse vision at the polls. If this is the direction of the party's energized base, we're watching the accelerated erosion of the pragmatic liberalism that once defined much of the Democrat Party. Brad Lander's campaign followed the same script, centering fierce anti-Trump attacks and relentless opposition to immigration enforcement. Here he is.
Last Thursday, I gave a name to that spirit that has been moving in New York City. I said it was solidarity. I said it was the force we need to vanquish our biggest foes. And I don't mean Wemby and the Spurs. Solidarity is the force that we need to vanquish Trump's fascism, to abolish ICE, and to stand up to the billionaires who are rigging our economy against us.
Yeah. This rhetoric isn't about humane policy. It's about dismantling the very institutions that protect citizens and maintain order. New York has already struggled with overwhelmed shelters, skyrocketing migrant costs, draining city budgets, and rising crime in impacted neighborhoods. Yet candidates like Lander treat enforcement itself as the enemy rather than the chaos that unchecked flows of illegals creates. This ideology over reality approach has consequences. We're seeing them play out in real time. The cultural and religious dimensions make this even more concerning. Zohran Mamdani celebrated one of these victories by explicitly thanking Allah. Here he is.
I have stood next to Daria Lisa and I have said, our next congresswoman. And I've said these words in the way that many of us will say, inshallah.
Yeah. Guys, this isn't casual multiculturalism. Isn't new for Mamdani either. He's made a show of openly drawing on Islamic teachings to justify expansive open border policies. Here is a detailed explanation.
And I consider my own faith, Islam, a religion built upon a narrative of migration. The story of the Hijrah reminds us that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a stranger too, who fled Mecca and was welcomed in Medina. Surah An-Nahl 1642 tells us, as for those who immigrated in the cause of Allah after being persecuted, we will surely bless them with a good home in this world. Or as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Islam began as something strange and will go back to being strange. So glad tidings to the strangers. If faith offers us the moral compass to stand alongside the stranger, government can provide the resources. Let us create a new expectation of City Hall, where power is wielded to love, to embrace, and to protect. We will stand with the stranger today.
Yep, there it is. He frames welcoming unlimited strangers as a religious imperative, elevating blank check immigration above the needs of American citizens like you. Safety and security concerns or successful assimilation. When you fuse this religious movement with socialist economics, you create a dangerous alliance, and we don't have to guess where this leads. Europe's been running this experiment for years, and the outcome should serve as a dire warning. In Sweden, no-go zones and gang violence tied to unassimilated migrant communities have exploded. France's suburbs have seen repeated riots, car burnings, and growing Islamist influence. The United Kingdom has endured grooming gang scandals and authorities that ignored for fear of racism accusations, alongside surging knife crime and debates over Sharia patrols. Germany continues to wrestle with enormous welfare costs and cultural fragmentation that has altered the character of once cohesive cities. Native birthrights decline while foreign legal and social systems emerge. Speech is chilled. Trust in institutions, it collapses. And citizens feel like the strangers in their own neighborhoods. New York now fast-tracking the same model. District by district, neighborhood by neighborhood. Even some voices on the left are beginning to notice the replacement of mainstream Democrats. We'll talk about that and their concerns, which are many today. Let's be honest, the Democrat Party is in panic. The radicals, the revolutionaries are taking over. We'll talk about it straight ahead. All right, back to it now. The voices on the left beginning to notice the replacement of mainstream Democrats with radical revolutionaries. Here's part of the concern from John Fetterman.
The kind of people that are trying to run out of office, I mean, they're just good traditional kinds of Democrats you would have expected in New York City now. And now this has just become, really, it's just been the dancing days of the dirtbag left. You know, with some of these candidates are outrageous. You know, you have candidates, they abolish ICE, abolish the police, abolish the border. And she even said F Kamala Harris and more of these outrageous kinds of things. And then you have like Mandami. He was grieving. Hamas sniper was killed by Israel just the other day, and he was grieving that. I mean, these are emerging the full pro-Hamas wing. You know, a lot of these candidates that very likely are going to win tonight just declaring a war on just regular Democrats.
The dirtbags dancing days. Senator Fetterman is correct. The old guard, imperfect as they were, is being sidelined by a far more radical cohort that views compromise as betrayal. Over on CNN, Van Jones captured part of the stunned reaction from the left on election night Tuesday. Here he is.
Do you think Democrats not in New York City should be learning from this?
Well, first of all, New York City matters because the two most exciting left-wing candidates are here, AOC and Mamdani, but also this is the stronghold for the establishment, Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. This is a battle between the establishment and this insurgency, and the roof is collapsing on the Democratic Party establishment tonight. If Mamdani gets a hat trick, 3 out of 3, this is a new era for the Democratic Party, and you can't write off New York City because this is the place where both, it's the power center for the establishment and the insurgency, and they're going head-to-head tonight. And right now, this is no longer a movement. This is a movement and a machine at the same time. There's just no way to sugarcoat this. If Mamdani pulls off a hat trick, it is a new era in Democratic Party politics.
No way to sugarcoat it, says Van Jones. He's right. This isn't ordinary partisan competition. It's a fundamental transformation of what large segments of the Democrat Party now represent in deep blue strongholds. Conservatives have been warning about this, and after this week, many are cutting through the spin with perfect clarity. Here's Stephen Miller highlighting the profound national security and sovereignty implications. Listen to what he says.
That's the communication challenge that we all have together, Sean, which is to explain to the American people that Democrats you grew up with, the Democrats that your mom and dad grew up with, the Democrats that your grandma and grandpa grew up with, do not exist anymore at all, not at any level of government. A vote for any Democrat anywhere for any office is empowering a party that wants to strip this country to the bone, to take away our security, our defense, our way of life. You know, just tonight, Sean, I saw a Democrat member of Congress online defending the Antifa terrorists in Texas who were just jailed for shooting an ICE officer. They shot an ICE officer. They were charged with terrorism, and a Democrat congresswoman was defending the Antifa terrorists.
It's remarkable. These observations are not an exaggeration. Another Mamdani-backed winner, Aber Kawas, embodies the same pattern sweeping through these races. She won her race for New York State Senate while blaming 9/11 on America's system of capitalism and racism, of course. Listen.
And finding that, the system of capitalism and racism and white supremacy, etc., and Islamophobia have all been used, to colonize lands, right, to take resources from other people. And so this is like a long trajectory. And we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation, right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when people are asking us to respond about, attack, right, if you look back, historically, right, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right, and a lot of times because of U.S. policy or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that The idea that we have to apologize for like a terror attack that like a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery, etc., is something that I kind of find like reprehensible.
Yeah, I find that all reprehensible. Now she's going to be making decisions for New Yorkers who 25 years ago suffered the loss of 3,000 lives at the hands of an ideology that she is championing. Looks like a national security risk to me. Stories from the ground tell the human cost. Working class neighborhoods strained by sudden demographic shifts. Small businesses overwhelmed by regulation and taxes. Families watching their city change faster than they can adapt. Anti-Western activism has been dressed up as compassion while public resources get diverted from citizens to illegal aliens. This is how social cohesion falls apart. Tuesday's primaries were not just local contests. They were a preview of our future if these trends spread from New York to Congress and beyond. That's the problem that we face. I live in Michigan. I don't want to see socialist economics that punish success and stifle growth. I don't need open borders treated as sacred duty or cultural separatism that my nation will be suffering. We still have time to reject this nonsense, secure the borders, demand assimilation, restore economic sanity, and recommit to the principles of liberty, opportunity, and American exceptionalism that built this country. If we ignore the warning from New York, we risk watching our greatest cities follow Europe right down the drain. And that's the monologue. Do you want another summer like last summer, or do you want to sleep like I did last night? Hey, listen, my ghost bed is awesome. It is. I'm telling you. The American-made ghost bed, best bed I've ever had. Keeps me cool at night, even in the summer. I'm not tossing and turning, and I wake up well-rested. And look, we get up early here. We got a lot of work to do. Ghost bed getting it done. Incredible support, less stiffness. I love it. Ivy loves it. And they will give you 101 nights to try it at home. If you don't like it, they will pick it up and take it away. How much more convincing do you need? GhostBed also offering my audience an extra 10% off today. Financing is available. Some ghost beds come out to about $1 a day. Ghostbed.com/Gruber. Promo code's Gruber. Ghostbed.com/Gruber. Sleep like a baby tonight in a ghost bed. I'll be right back. All right, so we're keeping an eye on Venezuela. Absolutely devastating earthquake. 2 within 40 seconds. The first one somewhere around 7.1, 7.3. The second one reported as possibly as high as 7.5. This, by the way, was just part of what we saw. You can see the devastation. Complete building collapses. This is around Caracas, the nation's capital. President Trump promising immediate support and anything they need. California had an earthquake earlier in the day of 5.6, and after the Venezuela earthquakes, a major earthquake also rocked Japan, 6.9 on the Richter scale. 3 major earthquakes. It's the biggest earthquake, by the way, in California in 90 years. Northern California, 5.6. So 4 major earthquakes in the last 24 hours. California, Venezuela, Japan. Are the fault lines correcting themselves? Maybe. It's tectonic plates and pressure and time. I don't know how this plays out, but I'm making you aware of the facts. You might not get those somewhere else. 4 major earthquakes, 24 hours. Is the Pacific tectonic plate reconciling itself? We'll keep an eye on that as we work throughout the day. This part of the program is brought to you by my good friends at Home Title Lock. Home Title Lock is protecting you from home theft. It's a growing scam with everything that goes on the internet. For 250 years, the promise of America has been the freedom to build something of your own, and for millions of families, that dream begins with owning a home. But in the blink of an eye, that American dream can turn into a nightmare. With just some public information and a forged signature, criminals can legally transfer your home ownership into their name. And getting it back takes months, maybe years, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of legal fees. Protect yourself with Home Title Lock, 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and 100% fraud restoration success. They'll spend $1 million to restore your home. To celebrate this year, America's 250th birthday, Home Title Lock is giving you, my audience, 25% off for 2 years in title fraud protection. That's over $100 in savings plus a free title history report. Use the promo code Gruber25 at HomeTitleLock.com. HomeTitleLock.com, Gruber25. I mean, it's never been cheaper. Sleep easy tonight. I'll be right back. All right, back to it now. Glad to have you on board. We hear a lot about child trafficking and so forth and how the government has failed kids, but what about others? What about adult guardianship, conservatorship, protective services? All of these things, they're all concerning. You know, because you just have to ask, who's watching the place? Who's looking out for the folks? Maureen Steele, co-founder of American Made Foundation and co-author of the new book, The CPS Pipeline, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping. Joining me now, Maureen, nice to see you this morning.
Nice to be here, Steve. Good morning.
I mean, from top to bottom, we have failed people in this country when it comes to social services. I mean, what was it, 350,000 kids lost? Just the Biden administration had no idea where they had come and gone, come into the country, and, oh, I'm his dad, I'm his mom. Nobody knew, nobody checked. But that's just the beginning, based on what you're telling me here, the CPS pipeline. Tell us more.
Yeah, you know, right now there's 500,000 children in America that are being held hostage in foster care. If they were being held hostage in Bosnia or some other country, this would be a major military operation. And instead, our tax dollars are funding this. The funding for this comes through HHS, through Title 4E and 4D funding. But you just previously mentioned, Steve, you know, the children that came over the border, you know, 350,000 children that have gone missing. I think that's a modest figure, but it isn't a mistake, and it isn't a failing in the sense that the system is working exactly as it was designed to do. And that is what this book tries to expose, is that this isn't a mistake. This isn't, you know, whoops, we need to do a redesign here. We've got to fill in the holes. It's not that. This is how it was designed. Our children have been hijacked and kidnapped since, you know, we had those big airlifts with the orphans and the children in Romania. This has been going on for a very long time. We're just wise to it now. You know, COVID really ripped the veil off a lot. And so we see it clearly, and it's disturbing, and it's definitely unsettling. But the good old days that we thought were the good old days simply aren't. We were just blinded.
Yeah, it is remarkable. And why do you say, you put it in a very, you know, interesting way, 500,000 held hostage. Now, foster care is important, isn't it? Foster care is important for kids to have a place to call home while they're in transition, but you say they're being held hostage. How many people are in foster care?
There's 500,000 children being held right now. There's about 4.5 million families that get touched by CPS every year. And so the stats are that 85% of calls into CPS for abuse or neglect are unfounded, but that doesn't stop them from taking the children from their families anyway. So people are losing children because, you know, a neighbor called CPS because they're upset that the fence line went over an inch on their property and your kid's out front, you know, in the yard playing outside in 50-degree weather without a jacket on, and they think it's too cold. And CPS will run with that. They manipulate the facts. They make parents look neglectful when they're not. And most children are taken on neglect. Only 1% of children are actually abused. And when I say abused, I mean like starved, beaten, burned, held in cages. What the government has set up is that they start from the basis that every parent is a tyrant, every parent is abusive, and you have to prove your innocence. And you simply can't, because Hillary Clinton wrote the Adoption and Safe Families Act in 1997. Bill Clinton signed it into law, and that put a price tag on children's heads. And as we all know, when the government can make money off of something, it is ripe for corruption, and they run with it. And unfortunately, that is what has happened here. Family courts are the only courts that run on hearsay, that deny due process. It's the Wild West in family courts. And, you know, our Constitution says you cannot lose your property without a trial by your peers. Yet people lose their children every day based on hearsay, zero evidence, and no trial by your peers, a simple hearing. You know, an ex parte order going in front of the judge saying, you know, we think dad has a mental health problem and he might do something to his daughter. Something could happen. Take them, and they get put in foster homes. And here's another stat, Steve, and it's really important for people to hear this because a lot of people think foster care is great. Again, 85% of foster homes, or 85% of children in foster care are trafficked or sexually abused. That's
really
astonishing.
Now, hold on. To be fair, Maureen, happens while they're in foster care or before they arrived or after they leave? Are you saying, I mean, I know people that foster kids.
Yep, in foster care or when they get out of foster care. These children are so damaged that most of them, like I said, if you only have 1% that's being taken that are actually abused, then you have children that are being taken from good families, put with strangers, put in a house with a single mother with 8 kids in one home. So they're taking a child saying they're being neglected over here. How does one woman that's not even your real mom take care of 8 kids all by herself? She can't. And she's neglected over there. We deal with whistleblowers that work.
Sure,
in
not
CPS.
again, to be fair, you don't disagree that some kids need to be removed from abusive homes. That part we both agree on, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. We must protect our children.
But you
I'm
make a great point that I want to go back to, Maureen. I want to go back to this point. The parents are suspect as soon as they walk into the hearing. The parents are the ones on the defensive. The parents are the ones that have to prove, I didn't do that. Well, the kid made this allegation, or the neighbor said this, or the ex-wife. That's always a good one. Or ex-husband. The ex-spouse made an allegation, and therefore this is happening. And then the parents are basically on their heels walking into the courtroom from the get-go, aren't they?
They are, and CPS is a machine. It's an agency that wields tremendous power. And Steve, what's more important, it wields power in the darkness. Everything is done, in secret. The records are sealed because we're dealing with minors. We must protect the children. And what's happening is we have the biggest RICO and trafficking crime syndicate in America, and it's operating under the guise of child safety and protecting families when it's designed to actually destroy the American family. And if you destroy the American family, you can destroy a country. The backbone of society is strong families, and this system, like so many other systems that our country puts forward, it looks good on the outside, but behind it does exactly the opposite of what it says it's doing out front.
Yeah. Maureen Steele, greatly appreciated. The brand new book, The CPS Pipeline, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping. These government bureaucracies, no matter what they're dealing with, wield tremendous power and have little regard for the average folks. That's the problem. This is another terrible example. Maureen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
There you have it. Keeping an eye on Venezuela. Go ahead and roll that footage again, Anthony. I'm keeping up on the breaking news out of Venezuela. 2 back-to-back earthquakes, 39 seconds apart, 7.1 and 7.5, the preliminary readings. Now, this came after an earthquake of 5.6 in California earlier in the day, the biggest in Northern California in 90 years. Then Venezuela gets rocked hard. And then an earthquake a bit later in Japan, 6.9. But you can see Caracas, Venezuela, complete collapse of many buildings there. It is tremendous damage. President Trump says he is ready, willing, and able to help immediately, ordering all Americans and American agencies to do what they can to help out the people of Venezuela. Nobody deserves this. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to it. We'll keep an eye on the devastation from the earthquakes in Venezuela. We'll keep an eye on that. The death toll could be in the thousands, possibly higher, as it hit these major metropolitan areas. Complete collapse of buildings throughout Caracas and that region. We'll keep you up to speed as we work through it. Meanwhile, in Canada, a complete collapse of common sense that could come to our doorstep. You know, I thought Trudeau was a bad prime minister because he was. Then you get Mark Carney. This guy is worse, a globalist that wants to align with the EU. And now they're criminalizing, we've been talking about this for the last few weeks, criminalizing quoting the Bible. Quoting the Bible could be a crime in Canada very soon. David Kallman joining me, the senior partner with the Kallman Legal Group, to sort it out from a legal perspective. David, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Great to be with you again.
All right, so the enactment amends the criminal code to, among other things, create an offense of willfully promoting hatred against an identifiable group by displaying certain symbols in a public place, i.e., I don't like the pride flag, I guess. Repeal the defense based on the expression of opinions on religious subjects or texts, like the Bible says marriage between a man and a woman, and so on and so forth. Now, people say that we're overreacting when we read these things. I don't think we're overreacting, David. Well, tell me your take on this.
Yeah, it's not an overreaction at all. Look what happened in Finland. You have members of their parliament over in Finland, a couple of government officials have been prosecuted on this very type of law and have been convicted. And the Finnish Supreme Court upheld it. And so, you know, my ancestors come from Finland. It's terrible to see this sort of religious persecution going on in that country. And now this bill in Canada is very similar. You know, how they define hate speech is basically, you disagree with me and you hurt my feelings, that's hate. And it's outrageous. It really is ridiculous. And so if, you know, you quote Leviticus, you quote Romans, you know, Paul in Romans talking about marriage between one man, one woman. Now you're, you know, cisgendering me or whatever the word is. You know, you talk about LGBT issues in the Bible. Nope, now it's a hate crime. And,
well,
and what this bill does,
I've seen in London, for example, a preacher there arrested because he was standing on a street corner quoting the Bible, arrested because he offended members of Islam. We were just talking about this Islamic expansion in America. In New York City, the Islamic factions, if you will, have now merged with these far-left socialists, creating this alliance. And it's in Michigan. We're seeing Abdul El-Sayed run here. We're seeing it in Chicago and Seattle and Los Angeles. How dangerous is this, David? I mean, basically, it's a destruction of our Constitution if we allow it to happen.
It's incredibly dangerous. I mean, it's a direct refutation of the First Amendment. I mean, we have free speech. We have free exercise of religion. Not to these folks. If you say anything bad about Allah or you say anything bad about somebody else's political position, you know, whatever it is, you know, you deserve to be prosecuted. And these bills, what they do, the hate crime bills, and there's some in the United States too that so far have protections in place, and so they haven't been used in an inappropriate way. But I think it's coming here next. And so Canada is just a precursor to what's going to come here in the next 5 to 10 years. And you're going to see this kind of fight and this kind of battle going on. Right now, that bill in Canada just passed the House. Now it goes to the Canadian Senate. And historically, the Canadian Senate is just a rubber stamp. They don't ever change anything. It's stacked with liberals. In fact, there have been many far-left members of the Senate who are very happy about this bill and that it's going to stop this exemption for religious speech. And they can't wait to prosecute Christians, Muslims, Jews. It doesn't matter. This is an all-faith attack. Yeah. And they can't wait to go after people.
Yeah, you know, and we see it happening. In fact, you were just telling me you saw a woman get thrown out of a Detroit Tigers baseball game. What was her crime against the Tigers in Major League Baseball, David?
Well, you know, you remember the snafu last week in Major League Baseball with Pride Week, Pride Month, and 3 San Francisco Giant players wrote a scripture on their cap.
They
that
sure
simply
did.
refers to Genesis about the rainbow and why God put the rainbow in place involving the flood. And so this lady decided she was going to make a sweater or a sweatshirt, and it said Jesus over pride. That's all it said. She was sitting down right behind home plate. And so every time the cameras are zeroed in on the batter and, the catcher and the umpire, here you can see this lady with this Jesus over pride shirt. The Tigers kicked her out of the game and told her as she was leaving that it was because of her shirt and what it said, and that people were complaining. Now, later, the Tigers came out the next day and said, well, she was being disruptive, and they made up a false claim. But that's a clear violation of the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act. I mean, the Tiger Stadium, Comerica, is a public accommodation, and the Tigers cannot discriminate against people for their speech, for religious basis or any other basis. We still have free speech.
Yeah.
So I hope that lady pursues something against the Tigers, because
It sounds to
they'll do
me,
it to other
David,
people too. You got to stop this.
she should pick up the phone and call the Coleman Legal Group and get this handled.
We'd be happy to talk to her. I'll tell you, I think I'm going to the Tiger game tomorrow night. Maybe I'll get kicked out now. I don't know, because I'm talking on your show today. Maybe they'll kick me out.
Yeah.
But, look, these organizations have got to realize that they are alienating their base. The Tigers are alienating their base by doing this sort of thing. I'm a lifelong Tiger fan. They're alienating me, and I have these tickets already. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm going to think twice about going to a Tiger game now, if this is the way they think.
Or maybe you could wear a T-shirt that said,
yeah, we were actually
Jesus
talking
saves,
about
or,
this, Steve.
Yeah, why not?
Funny you should say that.
Yeah. Couldn't happen to a nicer attorney. Get thrown out of the Tigers game, and then you don't need to go find a plaintiff. You just handle it yourself. David Coleman, wear something provocative. Always good to see you, my friend.
Great to be with you, Steve. Have a great
There you
day.
have it. Yeah. David would be the right guy to wear the right shirt to the right baseball game and see what they have to say about it. I got something special for you after the break here on Daybreak. All right, welcome back to it. It's Thursday, right? And we're almost to the weekend. That means tomorrow is Friday, the 26th of June. It's a big day for me. I'm like a nervous father waiting for a child to be born. You know, like the old 1950s scenes. You know, the dad's in the waiting room crushing filterless Pall Malls. Just kind of like the way I feel. Why? Here's a preview of why. Listen to this.
From prayer to purpose to a promise that still stands. From Rav's own Steve Gruber comes One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project. A powerful new American anthem for the 4th of July. Faith, freedom, and unity in every line. A new release through Real America's Music. One Nation. Pre-save it now. Scan the QR code or search One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project on iTunes.
One nation under God, may we always be the home of the brave and the land of the free. For every battle, blood was lost. God bless America, sea to shining sea.
So I'm going to need your help, that's all. The song releases tomorrow. It's One Nation. Special thanks to Ivy, to Laura Kokenauer, musical genius, friend of ours. And we put this together. And we're releasing the song in Real America's Music tomorrow. I'm going to have Ivy in here in a moment. We're going to talk about it. And, well, we just hope it's something you guys like.
Don't let the fame get to your head, Steve.
And I'm not a musician, but I am the drummer on this deal. I've played the drums since I was about 14. I'll tell you more about that and where that all started. And Ivy was just masterful in controlling the whole process, which was enough to give me an aneurysm 3 times over at a couple of points. But we'll talk about that. I survived. I'm going to get some coffee. You should too. Ivy will be in a moment after this.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
All right, welcome back as we continue fighting for you and this country from the foxhole of freedom, digging deeper and giving you better insight and analysis than you're going to get anywhere else. Here are three big things for hour number 2. Number 1, a huge blow-up behind closed doors rocked a meeting between President Trump and Senate Republicans. It turned into a shouting match over the Iran war and the Save America Act. What next? Number 2, it's no better for normal Democrats who are watching the entire party get hijacked by far-left radical communists that want to burn the entire country down and burn the Constitution too. And number 3, we've got some good news we want to talk about, but first let's bring Ivy in. Ivy, good morning. Keeping an eye on, you can see the devastation in Venezuela, 2 back-to-back earthquakes.
I know I'm getting reporting that 164 people are confirmed dead and hundreds of others, 700 injured.
It's going to be a lot higher.
Buildings have been toppled, and it's a couple of really huge earthquakes in that area.
Yeah, 7.1 and 7.5. Those are the preliminary numbers. These are big earthquakes right around Caracas, the nation's capital. It is a devastating hit for sure.
Quite a few countries are affected. Colombia, Venezuela, the Caribbean, Netherlands, Curacao, Aruba. I mean, it's a pretty wide area.
Here's what's really wild. There was a 5.6 earthquake in Northern California yesterday, the biggest in 90 years.
Oh, really?
Then these 2 hit. And then last night, a 6.9 magnitude earthquake in Japan.
Interesting. There's some shifting in the tectonic plates.
Yeah, the pressure is built up. You know, in America, the biggest fault line runs through St. Louis. God help us if that ever takes off in our lifetime. I don't know. I see all of these earthquakes, and you wonder, well, they shouldn't really be related, but they're all on the rim of fire. You know, they're all on the rim of fire. Could they be related? I don't know. You know,
could be. I mean, I'm not sure.
I don't know either. But to be honest with the preliminary numbers you just gave, it's going to be far worse than that. Some people on the ground there say it could be tens of thousands of people killed. Entire buildings came down at the same time.
Yikes.
So pretty frightening stuff. So we pray for those folks. And the good news is this. Just think about this. This is an interesting thing that has played out. Prior to January 2nd, when Donald Trump went in and took Maduro out and arrested him, the dictator in Venezuela, they were aligned with China and Russia and Cuba. And now Donald Trump last night said, we will send whatever we can to help. He notified all of his agencies to provide whatever help is needed for the nation of Venezuela. That wouldn't have happened a year ago, I don't believe.
Yeah.
So it's a new day in Venezuela. Not a good day, but a different day in the way the reaction comes, wouldn't you say?
I would say yes, and of course prayers to all the people who are there and facing this hardship, because I can imagine what they're going through.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about America. I remember the 4th of July in 1976. I was old enough to be there. I was a little kid, but I was at the parades and I was at all the celebrating. We didn't have all this hatred for America. I watched what happened in New York this week with all of these people that want to, open the border, to get rid of ICE, defund the police. I'm like, you people are insane.
You know what I think we should do this year, Steve?
What's that?
I think we should take the Declaration of Independence and we should pass it around our family members as we are enjoying the holiday and reading it aloud and just remembering where this country started, the battles that it fought to get here, because it's so important. And what better than to read the Declaration of Independence?
You know, a great place to get that, by the way, our good friends at Hillsdale College give away these pocket constitutions and declarations of independence. Mm-hmm. This one is well worn because it's on my desk, as you know, because we have people call and say, well, it says this or that. No, let's see exactly what it says. You know, I don't think most members of Congress could pass a test on the Constitution. I think that's outrageous. People that come to this country legally, which I love, legal immigration I love, they know more about this document in this country than the people that are actually representing them once they become citizens. And that is sad.
I think it actually requires regular review and study And we are called to be civic in this country, to get involved in politics, whether that's through voting or being part of your local community board or whatever it is, school board, whatever. It's so important to be involved.
I had to walk over.
Oh, what'd you get?
I had to grab
I heard you
this
shuffling
quote
over there.
from a Democrat. I had to grab a quote from a Democrat that hangs on my wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I read this often, and I want to share this with the folks. Today, we need a nation of Minutemen. Citizens who are not only prepared to take up arms, but citizens who regard the preservation of freedom as a basic purpose of their daily life and who are willing to consciously work and sacrifice for that freedom. The cause of liberty, the cause of America, cannot succeed with any lesser effort.
Yeah.
President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. That's when we still had Democrats in this country.
Well, I want to talk about our song. I know you started to there. And the lyrics go like this: cultivate the hearts of the people to unite in the faith and form a bond of brotherly love to what no man could ever break. And these words were adopted from George Washington's prayer for our young nation. Our founding fathers understood something I think we've forgotten. Even when they disagreed, sometimes fiercely, they believed our country could only survive if we remained united. During the Constitutional Convention in 1787, Benjamin Franklin stood before a deadlocked convention and urged the delegates to begin each day with prayer. He reminded them that during the Revolution they had sought God's guidance together, saying, "Our prayers were heard and they were graciously answered." And as you know, the United Kingdom, Britain fighting against America, the odds were completely stacked against this young nation. Years later, Abraham Lincoln warned us, "A house divided cannot stand." These words are just as true today. This isn't about politics, it's about people. It's about remembering that we are Americans first. My hope is that this music, this song, does more than entertain. I hope it brings us together. I hope it reminds us of what we share instead of what divides us. And I hope in some small way it helps lead us back to a more united America. And I hope that may God continue to bless this nation, incline our hearts towards one another, and grant us the wisdom, humility, and courage to become the people the Lord has called us to be.
And real quickly, Anthony, play that preview.
From prayer to purpose to a promise that still stands. From Rav's own Steve Gruber comes One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project. A powerful new American anthem for the 4th of July. Faith, freedom, and unity in every line. A new release through Real America's Music. One Nation. Pre-save it now. Scan the QR code or search One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project on iTunes.
One nation under God, may we always be the home of the brave and the land of the free. For every battle, blood was lost. God bless America, sea to shining sea.
And there you have it, the preview. The song goes live tomorrow. The YouTube video debuts at 10 o'clock Friday morning, tomorrow morning. We hope you can see it there. Ivy, love you.
Love you.
All right, back after this. Artificial intelligence continues to fuel enormous investment and market optimism, but concerns are growing about the debt and credit supporting that growth. At the same time, the Federal Reserve is sending mixed signals. The dollar remains strong, and gold has seen sharp swings despite ongoing inflation and economic uncertainty. Joining me over the phone to discuss is precious metal specialist from Birch Gold Group, Philip Patrick. He is in London today. Philip, nice to have you.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
Well, the AI boom, undeniably transformative, but the financing behind it is concerning for many. Are we looking at a legitimate technology boom or a debt-fueled bubble? That's the question and over some of the things we've been through around here. What are your thoughts?
Look, it's a big question. The largest technology platforms, they're expected to spend about $700 billion this year. This is on data centers, chips, power, networks. Not all of that is debt, but a growing share now is being financed through debt, private credit, leases, and off-balance sheet vehicles. So, profitability for these companies isn't that yet there. So this is very much reliant on profitability coming before the debt service becomes problematic. AI may transform the world, but it doesn't mean that every lender is going to get paid off. And what is a genuinely useful technology can still become a dangerous debt bubble. We saw the same thing with the railroads in the 1880s, radio in the 1920s, and of course the internet boom in the 2000s. So we'll have to wait and see if it's a bubble, but if these companies don't get profitable quick, there's going to be some issues on the debt side.
Yeah, certainly. Now, speaking of credit, Kevin Warsh's first meeting produced a much more hawkish signal than most expected. Does that make him an inflation hawk? Because out of the 20 people voting, 9 voted to raise rates. 8 said no, and the others didn't make a commitment. But are we going to see interest rates rise this year?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You said it right. He's certainly acting hawkish. I wouldn't call him doctrinaire yet, but this is a guy who favors shrinking the Fed's balance sheet, which remains near 6.7 trillion. But on the other hand, as we know well, consumer prices were up 4.2% year over year, even as oil prices are falling, as traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is resuming. The earlier shock is still passing through freight, food, and household bills. You pointed out 9 of the 18 officials who submitted projections were suggesting at least 1 rate increase this year. 6 of them anticipated 2 or more. Point being, rate cuts are no longer the base case. Goldman Sachs are now predicting no interest rate raises until next year, which I think is probably accurate. With pressure from the executive, I don't know if they'll raise, but there's certainly no rationale to drop.
Yeah. The dollar has climbed to a 13-month high recently. And the question for some of us is that mean the economy's out of the woods? I mean, a lot of unpredictability out there to me. What are your thoughts?
This is a very tough market to work out. The dollar has strengthened, but it's strengthened against other currencies. So, when we talk about a strong dollar, that's what we're really talking about. It's not a big surprise. The Fed's target rate is 3.5 to 3.75. If we look at our competition, Canada at 2.25, Japan at 1, China's comparable rate is 3. I think amongst major nations, only the UK have higher rates, which supports dollar strength. On the other hand, though, look at the dollar's buying power at home. That's what really affects us. Consumer prices are 30% higher than they were in January 2020. A strong dollar index doesn't restore that lost purchasing power. It just means other currencies are doing worse relatively. So definitely a good sign, but it doesn't mean the problems are behind us.
Yeah, inflation, debt, economic risk. It should favor gold, but gold has been volatile, to say the least. Does that change the case for owning physical gold in your mind?
The answer is absolutely not. We saw gold price hit a high in January of $55.95. It rose 24% during that month, and the next day it dropped 9.5%. Physical bullion wasn't the driver. This came from paper markets, leveraged future options, speculative positioning. Even Besant himself, who calls himself a gold bug, by the way, described it as a classic speculative blow-off. At the end of the day, gold and silver did unprecedented things last year, and it's natural that traders come out, they take profits, prices reset. We then had the Iran war, which created confusion and led to people moving to cash, dollar strengthening. However, we've talked many times about the longer term fundamentals for gold.
Yeah.
That is debt, deficit, and sadly, those problems are still here.
Philip Patrick, enjoy your time in London. As always, good conversation. Very eye-opening, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Now, if you're interested in diversifying your savings with gold, then text the word America to the number 989898 today and claim your free information kit on gold. Again, that's America. 989898. Do that today and find out what your options are. All right, and looking at the price of oil today, $69. It's now back to where it was before the start of the war on the 28th of February in Iran. So that's pretty remarkable. Gas down a little bit, $3.91 the national average now. Gas creeps down. Isn't it interesting how in the day or two after the war began, gas prices shot right up. And they say, well, it's this pressure. And then oil collapses. They say, well, gas is still expensive because the gas in the ground was paid for when oil was expensive. Yeah, and the gas in the ground that was paid for prior to the war was inexpensive. Maybe I'm just a dolt, but I don't like it. And I feel like, we get to pay for the gas at the expense of the ordinary folks. No matter what happens, there's always an excuse. Well, yeah, this. But it's, the price of oil is on paper. It's not what it's really trading for. Okay, so why did gas go up 50 cents a gallon the day after the war? And why is it just coming down a penny a day, a penny a day, a penny a day? Maybe I'm just obtuse. But when oil is $69 a barrel, gas should not be $3.91. That I'm sure of. That I'm certain of. Anyhow, it's getting better. Should be better by the 4th of July. That is good news. We're going to check in on Venezuela and the aftermath of those two devastating earthquakes, and we'll tell you what Donald Trump had to say just after this. Well, today's program brought to you in part by PuroClean's Veterans Initiative, PuroVet. Veterans, if you're ready to be your own boss, join a trusted brand and serve your community in a new way. Restoration Services. PuroClean is the company. PuroVet is the program to put you to the front of the line and get your franchise with less red tape and less money up front and a chance to serve your community in an all-new way. 855-PuroVet or purovet.com to find out more. From Donald Trump on Truth Social comes this. The two major earthquakes that just hit the great people of Venezuela are both massive in scale and have left a devastating number of deaths. The USA stands ready, willing, and able to help. I have instructed all agencies of our government to get ready to move quickly. We'll be there for our new and great friends. Early reports are not good. President DJT. Some estimates say there could be thousands of deaths in Venezuela. The two earthquakes came at about 6:30 local time last night. 7.1, and then 39 seconds later, 7.5. Those are the preliminary numbers. Some could be worse. We'll find out. Interestingly, to me, is that there was a major earthquake in Northern California earlier in the day, 5.6 on the Richter scale in Northern California, the worst in 90 years in Northern California. And then these two earthquakes in Venezuela. And then later in the day, A 6.9 earthquake in Japan on the Richter scale. A lot going on. But as the sun rises in Venezuela this morning, it's bad. The videos are bad. We'll try to get you some updated videos as well to show you just how devastating this earthquake truly was. Complete buildings, complete blocks collapsed at the same time, according to the reports. And I've seen video of buildings collapsing, people running, just complete chaos and devastation in Caracas. The epicenter of the first earthquake just 15 miles from that nation's capital city. And you can see this footage here. For those of you watching, buildings destroyed, people in the streets, confusion, chaos. And today is not going to bring much relief. In fact, it could bring a whole lot of bad news. We'll be on it, of course, here on this program and throughout the day on Real America's Voice. We'll stay with this coverage to keep you up to date on what has happened. We'll be right back. It is not constitutional, this thing we call Regulation Nation. We talk about it here on this program a lot, as we should. It's not good for you or for me. These government agencies have the power to issue rules, which are basically laws. And if you violate those rules, you can lose your money, your property, your freedom. And Congress has little or no control because of the Administrative Procedure Act of 1946. It gets rolled back here and there. We've had some good movement forward. The Chevron standard was destroyed by the Supreme Court here recently. That's a good step, but we've got a long way to go. Wayne Cruz is the Fred L. Smith Fellow in Regulatory Studies at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. He says, let's put this thing to rest to celebrate 250 years of America. Wayne, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Look, the regulation nation, and you look at things like the EPA, for example, easy thing. They come in and fine some poor schmuck $10,000 a day because he dug a pond on his property. And it's either you fill in the pond or we'll continue to fine you $10,000 a day. The guy has no recourse because the same agencies that issue the rules also deal with any appeals. I mean, the system is rigged against the ordinary folks like you and I, Wayne. And so tell the people about the Administrative Procedure Act of 1946. It basically iron-plated the New Deal, which was a terrible and not a good deal for America, by the way, in my estimation. Go ahead.
I think it did. This is America 250, of course, and I was noticing at the same time that the so-called Administrative Procedure Act has its 80th anniversary this year. And strangely enough, even some in the conservative community were praising it, saying, well, it's great. It's kind of the brakes on the administrative state. It says when an agency like EPA that you just mentioned goes to make a rule, it's got to provide notice and comment to the public and go through the proper procedures. But the problem is the EPA leaves out a lot of stuff. You know, we have a few dozen laws from Congress every year. We have 3,000 rules and regulations pouring out of agencies every year. So it's a big multiple of most of the lawmaking is being done by unelected bureaucrats at agencies, like you just said with EPA. And regulation doesn't always work either. If you've been to Home Depot or Walmart and gotten a gas can lately, you've seen all that spring-loaded contraption.
Oh, good Lord.
Three hands. So imagine if EPA can screw up a gas can, what they can do to your lands. What you just described is, of course, the wetlands regulation. Our general counsel once said it isn't the waters of the United States Act, but the moistures of the United States. Where it's hardly a little wet pool on your farm is hardly a navigable water. But this is just a good time. At this anniversary of the United States is a great chance to step back. Capitalism has never meant that companies are free to run wild and do whatever the heck they want to do. Your choice is never no regulation from an agency like EPA. Or
but hold on, Wayne. There was always regulation. It's called the United States Constitution.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, that's what I mean, because you think about it, if a company is operating in a free market system under basic rule of law, no fraud, it's got a lot of disciplines. It's got upstream suppliers, downstream business customers, consumers, Wall Street, the media, advertisers. All these forces are arrayed against companies that misbehave. What the regulators come in to do typically is set a minimum standard. Sometimes I always joke that all tainted meat was approved by the USDA. So there's always better ways to do this kind of thing. And you always have to think about it. You don't say no regulation, but what's going to work the best? And often it's not going to be a government agency just thinking up a value and creating regulations to
absolutely true. You mentioned the gas cans. It's funny you should mention that because every time there's one at our northern compound, it has that stupid contraption on the front end where you have to push it, and then it's terrible. You spill more gas with this piece of junk than you do. So I go to yard sales. I go to yard sales looking for gas cans on occasion because the old ones wear out, and I go find other old ones because you can actually still use them without dumping gas all over your shoes. I mean, this is the magic of government, Wayne.
That's true. Well, think about too, if you're concerned about regulations, regulation nation, red tape, all this bureaucratic mess, remember you got all these laws from Congress, you've got 3,000 rules and regulations, but in recent years, especially after Obamacare, after the financial bailouts, after the CARES Act, after the inflation law, the infrastructure law, the CHIPS and Science law, a lot of new regulation is being spun off by those already hyper-spending, hyper-regulatory bills. So even before the administrators pick up a pen, we've got a lot of new regulation now. And a lot of the government money that's going out, say for broadband rollout or new programs under the CHIPS and Science Act, coming along with those are stipulations especially from the likes of the Biden administration on net zero energy, care economy, DEI programs and so forth. And a lot of those aren't being administered by new laws or new regulations, but by guidance, memos, notices, bulletins, stuff we call regulatory dark matter. So if we talk about this again at Halloween, it's going to be a much more darker index. We call it the Dark Lord Depository when we put an index together, because you can't track the stuff. You can read laws in the U.S. Code. You can find the regulations in the Code of Federal Regulations. But for the guidance and memos now that are pouring out even more than the rules and regulations are, you're kind of out of luck. The
Here's the
Trump
thing.
administration put together a portal for them.
Here's the problem, Wayne. You've got people like Elizabeth Warren who think 3,000 regulations and rules every year is just a fraction of what's needed. You got people like Bernie Sanders, who's a kook and always been a kook, who's now the headliner of the Democrat Socialists. They want more rules, more regulations, more government control, more taxes, more fees, more licensing. They want it all. And they want to attack us at every turn, don't they?
That's one reason we have to be really careful. Bernie Sanders came out about a month ago with the New York Times op-ed calling for half government ownership in AI companies. And when President Trump was asked about it, he said, well, we don't disagree on everything economically. And Trump was talking about his ownership shares taken in Intel, MP Materials, and is calling forth the AI executives to come to Washington. Got to be really, really careful about that, because we want the markets to steer and face the disciplines I was mentioning to you before. But too often you'll see there's a bipartisan tendency, especially in infrastructure funding, these tendencies to take roles in companies.
Right.
It's overly bipartisan. And
Wayne, I got to jump in for a second here. I got to jump in. I apologize, but we have the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, speaking in Bahrain about what's going on with negotiations and so forth. So thank you for being here. Let's hear the Secretary of State. Let's just dip in for a second. Well, we're getting the silent treatment from Marco, apparently.
The entire alliance.
There he is.
And as far as the president's concerned, he thinks, and he's rightfully thinks, that Iran poses as grave, if not more, a grave threat to parts of Europe than it does to the continental United States. And when he actually stepped forward and actually tried to do something about it, he didn't ask these countries to send their military to join us. We didn't need their help. But he asked if we could use the bases, and some of them said no or gave us a hard time, which I think is not only what he's annoyed about and upset about, but I think, frankly, it creates a real cloud over the NATO alliance that I hope can be fixed. We'll see. All right, I got to run. Let's go.
On Iraq, I'm just curious how concerned you are about Iran being able to consolidate control over a lot of its proxy militias in Iraq. And even as these talks are ongoing, what type of future threat that poses to some of its
again,
neighbors?
that's an example of Iranian interference in the sovereign affairs of another country, in Iraq. That said, they have a new prime minister. He's forming a government. We have good signals coming from him. He'll be visiting Washington soon to meet with the president. And our hope is that we will continue to stand on behalf of the sovereignty, respect for the sovereignty of the people of Iraq, and not interference from Iran. So that'll be a topic of conversation. We've engaged the new prime minister. He's spoken to the president on the phone already once. We're watching so far. There's been good signals and some good actions.
We'll keep an eye on this for you, and keep an eye on Marco Rubio. We'll take a quick break on Daybreak.
We're going to watch very closely. All right, last one, guys, because we got to get ready to go.
Somebody's blocking my clock.
We're always up.
All right. So I saw the name of this book, and I said, yeah, I want to talk to this guy. Because anybody who has a book with such a cool name, I said, I want to hear what they have to say. The name of the book, Truth in the Age of Applause, How Stupidity is Ruining the American Dream. Yes, sir, there it is. Truth in the Age of Applause. You know, it's just about likes and follows and clicks and going viral and good Lord. Dr. Andrew Fox is an organizational culture expert, a professor, a priest, and author of that book, Truth in the Age of Applause, How Stupidity is Ruining the American Dream. Doctor, nice to have you on the program. Do tell me what you mean and why you named the book such.
Well, it's good to be on your program, and I use the word stupidity as Dietrich Bonhoeffer used it just before they executed him in the Second World War. He said stupidity is not the absence of intelligence. It's not the absence of experience or knowledge. It is abdicating your moral responsibility to have independent thought and judgment and just going with the cultural norms. And of course, he was speaking about Nazi Germany, and they executed him 2 months before the end of the Second World War. So I define stupidity as we see it now as the same thing. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's not insulting to people. It's saying, hey, where did your intelligence go? Why are you going with the cultural norms on all these social issues that are not reality, like the governor in New York changing mother to gestating parent? What a ridiculous thing to say. Even children would say, that's really stupid. That's the essence of the book.
Yeah.
That's the whole stuff.
Here's the problem. You've got billions of people around the world now who have this little device in their hands, and this little device feeds them whatever the little device decides they should see, hear, and read. And it controls them. And then it gets to know them a little bit. So they like soccer or they like ice cream or whatever it might be. And they shape a worldview to feed you that worldview and support it. Never challenging it, just hoping you stay longer and click more and doom scroll. Well, that leads to abject stupidity in a variety of topics, does it not?
Oh, it does. I mean, take, for instance, the World Cup right now. 48 nations in the United States competing for this one trophy. And these nations that range from the British, the Dutch, the Swiss, the Japanese, Ghana, many nations, they're all fed this news that America is dangerous, that it's a political controversy, that there's going to be visa problems, and they need to be afraid, and the price of tickets no one can afford. And yet when they get here, these people, the fans especially, using these devices, they go on TikTok and they say, America is great. This one particular guy, he raves about Texas Roadhouse. You get refills on your drinks, you get free bread. And then there's others talking about Buc-ee's and the supermarkets and their visit to NASA and Southern hospitality. It is the most refreshing thing to hear from people that are not paid to say what they say, that are exploding on social media, unsolicited, saying America is an awesome place. The people are very welcoming. And so that's
one other thing, Wayne. I saw these two young women, soccer fans from, I believe, from the UK, saying you have no idea how hot the summer is in Birmingham because you guys have AC and it's freezing in here. Our Airbnb, you can actually control the AC. These two are hilarious. And they said, you guys have no idea what heat is in the summer. And I'm like, good. That's why we're America. That's why we're the best, because we have air conditioning and Buc-ee's and Texas Roadhouse and whatever else, right?
Well, that's the argument I have with my own family. They live in Nottingham, Robin Hood country, where I'm from. Yeah. And they're whining about the heat as nothing about heat till you've been to Texas. It's 80 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So, Texas heat is a little different. But, look, I've said for years, what would the southern United States be without air conditioning? Vacant. That's what it would be. I mean, good Lord. That's why they would stop at noon and take their iced tea breaks, because in Alabama and Mississippi and Texas in July, hello, that's rough if you don't have AC, isn't it?
Certainly, certainly. But let me get back to soccer. I'm British. I've lived in the States 26 years. I'm an American citizen. But this soccer thing is just overturning what the mainstream media tell us about the United States.
That's right.
Think about this. On July the 4th, the way the games are going, there is a probability that the US team will play the British team, the English team, on July the 4th. Can you imagine that? But here's the outcome. If the US team win, if this game takes place on July the 4th, there'll be banter and sarcasm, there'll be friendly insults, and then everyone will go to the bar together to get a drink. And
Well,
that's the essence.
Hold on. Not if they're Scottish fans, because there won't be any beer left, apparently. I mean, they put Boston into a beer emergency, doctor. I mean, they had to bring in emergency beer deliveries for the Scots. Who knew? Right? I didn't know that. I mean, it's good fun.
Well, you've got this one man called Freddie. He's a sensation. He's actually a German man, and boy, they can outdrink the Scottish. And he is raving about the price of beer here, that is so affordable. And yes, then the Scottish, no one can outdrink the Scottish. The Scottish in Boston was just a refreshing, hilarious human story. We need to see more of it in the United States.
The takeaway is this, doctor, and I got to run, but you've been great fun. You can come back anytime. The truth is that these people are all over America. They're in Kansas. They're in California. They're in Texas. They're in Ohio. They're like, we love this place. We've been lied to. That's right, you have. You've been lied to by the American media and the globalist media. This is a great place. Come on over. The air is nice, the beer is cold, and the people are really cool. Dr. Andrew Fox, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Truth in the Age of Applause, How Stupidity is Ruining the American Dream. That's the book. Good fun. We'll be right back. All right, let's check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. The final round of group games began yesterday at the World Cup. There were 6 games played. Winners were Bosnia-Herzegovina, Switzerland, Morocco, Brazil, Mexico, and South Africa. 6 more games are today, including the United States against Turkey tonight at 10 o'clock at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. The United States has already qualified for the knockout round. A full schedule in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included Tampa Bay, Cleveland, and Houston. National League winners included Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Arizona. There were 4 games in the WNBA last night. Winners were Phoenix, Minnesota, Chicago, and Golden State. The NBA draft concluded last night with second-round picks, but outside of that, ESPN is reporting that the Detroit Pistons sent backup center Isaiah Stewart to the Memphis Grizzlies for 3 future second-round picks. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Really appreciate it, keeping an eye on it. The Americans play tonight late, is that correct?
10 o'clock out in, as the update said, SoFi Stadium, suburban L.A.
Yeah, late for me. At that point, I hope to be inspecting the inside of my eyelids. I'd love to watch it, but, you know, I haven't watched a single game yet, to be honest. But I've watched, like our last guest was talking about, people just having the times of their lives coming here and saying, wait a second, this is not what they told us America was like.
I know. We've talked about it for the last couple of weeks.
It's great.
It hasn't changed.
Yeah. Great fun. All right, so 10 o'clock, and I guess we'll get an update from you in the morning, Brock, because I'm going to miss it. Let's see. Coming up tomorrow, of course, the release of One Nation, the brand new song from yours truly and a group of very talented people, including Ivy and Laura Kokenauer and some other folks. An American anthem, One Nation. It'll be available on iTunes beginning at midnight, actually. You can hear the song at midnight. The official video release is set for 10 a.m. Friday morning. So you can see the whole video, see it all. Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing it and a little bit of stress. I didn't have the aneurysm I thought I was going to have over the weekend. I made it, which is good for me and I suppose good for all of us. Anyhow, we'll continue in a moment. This is Daybreak.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
All right, and welcome to it. Glad to have you on board as we continue the conversation here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom and giving you better analysis and insight of all the things that impact your life every single day. Let's start with the three big things this hour. Number one, another hospital closing in America, this time in Southwest Michigan. These small hospitals cannot survive the system that's in place now. Insurance companies, government, and big hospital systems all to blame. Number two, after a wild exchange with the Senate has backed Donald Trump on the right to continue its war with Iran, if we so desire. And number three, following the breaking news this morning, and it is remarkable what I am seeing, the pictures out of Venezuela as information is flowing out. Hard to say how bad it is, but they had two major earthquakes in 39 seconds. In 39 seconds. Look at this guy. Buildings are collapsing around him. People out on the water. It is insanity. The first earthquake now, I'm told, is 7.3, upgraded from 7.1. The second earthquake came 39 seconds later, 7.5. The death toll could be immense. The death toll could be immense. From Donald Trump, he posted on Truth Social about the earthquake. The two major earthquakes that just hit the great people of Venezuela are both massive in scale and have left a devastating number of deaths. The USA stands ready, willing, and able to help. I have instructed all agencies of our government to get ready to move quickly. We will be there for our new great friends. Early reports are not good, President DJT. The concern is, in watching that video that we just shared, is that people, lots of people, were likely killed. Many could be missing in the rubble. This will take days, months, and years to rebuild. And it was one of several earthquakes reported yesterday. This is the interesting thing to me. There was an earthquake in Northern California, the worst in 90 years, 5.6 on the Richter scale. Then the two in Venezuela. And then later, a 6.9 earthquake in Japan. Four major earthquakes in a 24-hour period. I don't know if it means anything, but it is certainly interesting to see this happening. So we're keeping an eye on Venezuela. We'll have to discuss the fact that we're in a different position than we were at the beginning of the year. January 2nd, Donald Trump went in, took Maduro out of Venezuela. Darcy Rodriguez is now the president in charge of Venezuela. Seems to have a decent working relationship with Donald Trump. He is offering all American resources to help the people there. All agencies of our government ready to help and move quickly. So we'll keep an eye on where that goes, because that is a devastating earthquake. I think that the number of casualties could be in the tens of thousands based just on the footage, and that's just me having done this for a number of years. Some on social media say the death toll could reach 100,000. I don't know if that's true, but it could certainly reach the thousands or tens of thousands. This is Caracas. This is the capital city. It was not built to withstand an earthquake like that, obviously, because numerous buildings collapsed, some at the same time, some in the same block. Different blocks around the city collapsed simultaneously. One building goes, the next one follows, the next one follows. Absolute devastation as the sun rises in Caracas, Venezuela today. We'll let you know how that is going to play out. Also yesterday, an explosion of sorts behind closed doors. After an explosion, the Senate late Wednesday rejected a measure to restrain President Donald Trump in any military action against Iran, handing a win to the president just hours after a spirited meeting. That's how John Solomon's team writes it. A spirited meeting with Republican senators that devolved into shouting. The procedural motion failed 50-47 with Republican senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski voting with Democrats. Just one day earlier, 4 GOP senators defected on a similar resolution, so Wendy's vote was hailed as a win for Trump. So it went from 50 to 48 against to 50 to 47 in favor. Rand Paul and Bill Cassidy changed. Thank you to leader John Thune, Lindsey Graham, Bernie Moreno, and all. This vote puts Iran on notice. Democrat Senator Tim Kaine's resolution would have directed Mr. Trump to remove the United States Armed Forces from hostilities within or against Iran. And that just got dumped. So that's a pretty important. Meanwhile, the midterms are coming. I want to go to bite number 18. Mike Rogers, running for U.S. Senate as a Republican in Michigan, setting his sights on Abdul El-Sayed. Abdul El-Sayed, another of the Democratic Socialist-type candidates that are popping up around the country. And he's pulling no punches at this point, is the former member of Congress and Senate candidate. Listen to this.
First of all, I don't think he connects with working families across our state, and we are a working class state. Now, I grew up, I worked in an auto factory to pay for my college, right? I know these people. They are not that. I think that this is going to spell trouble for the Democrats. He is just too radical. Now, all three of them are trying to share their misery on all of Michiganders with their policies. So what we've been doing is talking about things that are going to make a difference in people's lives. We have a housing plan that doesn't involve big government, that's going to get people into homes earlier. We're going to fix the education literacy problem between third and fourth grade. If you don't read in the fourth grade by the fourth grade, you have a 70% chance of going to prison. We're fixing all of that. So we're talking about things that matter in their life.
There you go, talking about things that matter. What about Abdul El-Sayed? Who is he? Pulitzer Prize winner, my friend Charlie LaDuff, takes a look. Here he is.
Well, Abdul's commercials are running now, and his lawn signs are everywhere, but they're thin, like his resume. Paper thin. Let me explain.
Became a doctor to help people.
He's not a real doctor, he's a paper doctor. He doesn't have a license, never had a patient. He can't even give away aspirin off an ambulance.
He rebuilt the health department after the politicians tore it down.
As far as I could tell, he's only had 2 real jobs in his life. First, he stopped here in the city of Detroit, had a quick cup of coffee as the city health director. While there, money through his department was funneled into the pet program of Mayor Mike Duggan's mistress, one designed to reduce infant mortality.
This is a terrible situation.
And after just 16 months on the job, Abdul got gone. The Duggan mistress scandal exploded after he tried to destroy the evidence, and infant mortality, it went through the roof.
I have to choose between protecting the interests of the city or protecting my family.
That's the Abdul way, baby.
A couple years later, he gets the top medical gig with Wayne County.
Got thousands of glasses for kids, including me.
Yeah, glasses with Biden bucks. That's not a fix. Nothing really got fixed in Abdul's 2 years here in Wayne County. In fact, life expectancy in Detroit, Wayne County's biggest city, is plummeting.
Medicare for All would be the de facto insurer for everybody.
Medicare for all? Like Canada? It's so bad over there, they come here for a doctor. Medicare for all. Come on, man. Time to stop talking and start working.
Charlie LaDuff, one of my favorites, and he does great, fun, entertaining, educational videos for all. A Michigan enjoyer. I'll take a break and be right back. Be like a FIFA fan. Celebrate America. You know, I cannot get enough of the soccer fan just loving on America, saying, hey, you didn't tell us the truth about America. They're talking to the media, of course, as they come here, and they're in all places all over this country. They're in Kansas, and they're in Ohio, and they're in California and Texas to watch World Cup action. But along the way, they meet real Americans, see real America, and fall in love with the place. I fell in love with America, I think, the day I was born. And I still love America. Things to improve, yes. But tear it down and burn it down like some on the left? Absolutely not. My next guest, Dr. Matthew Spalding, Vice President of Washington Operations and the Dean of the Van Andel Graduate School of Government at Hillsdale College, is joining me now. Sir, nice to have you on the program.
Steve, it's great to be with you. Good to see you again.
Yeah, and I look at what happened in New York, and I say what you say, which is to say no to leftist black pills. Celebrate 250 years of hope. America's been that shining city on the hill for 250 years. That's why they come here. Legally, illegally, they flock to America. And you say, and I agree.
I completely agree. That's what's what the amazing thing in this time of all this consternation. We got to sometimes, we miss the forest for the trees here. This is an absolutely fabulous country. Every way we measure it gives us evidence of that. Immigrants come here, flock here. People want to be here. Business wants to come here. People who are persecuted and fleeing for religious purposes want to come here. And all that has to do with our beginnings. The debate in America and history is, the beginning was bad. We had slavery. They didn't like Indians, all of these kinds of things. The claim here is not that we're perfect. We are all fallen people. The point is, it began with a Declaration of Independence that's laid out a set of principles that we've aspired to for 250 years. And you know what? We've made mistakes. We're imperfect, but we have done great and noble things, and we've done more than any other country in the world to bring those principles into being and to live up to them and to uphold them in the world. And that is something not to be commemorated, but to be celebrated in a way that is appropriate for such a great country. And this is unheard of. A country which did have slavery at the beginning, got rid of it. It abolished it. We fought a civil war over it. A country that was on a tiny seaboard on the East Coast expanded to the greatest and most powerful nation in the world.
That's right.
This is unheard of, unprecedented, and it's all because of how it started with this great Declaration of Independence.
I'm going to go to the second paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers for the consent of the governed. The consent of the governed. I mean, this was unheard of in world history, wasn't it?
Oh, no, it's absolutely radical. And you know what, Steve, think about what they didn't say to put it in perspective. They didn't say, we have some personal value judgments we'd like you to affirm for us. It begins, we hold these truths. This is not moral subjectivism. This is not relativism. This is not the soft stuff that is everywhere today, what C.S. Lewis called the poison of subjectivism. It's a belief that man is metaphysically free, that his mind can grasp knowledge, and that knowledge tells us that all men are created equal. And as a result, they have these equal rights. They're endowed by God, who is their creator. And the only way to proceed based on that is consent. And government's job is to secure those rights. Government does not give us those rights. I mean, that's the basis of all Republican government. The whole argument of Republican government is based on those ideas expressed so well by Thomas Jefferson in 1776. And somehow we debate those, and they're flawed, and we're systemically racist, and we're a bad country. I just don't understand it.
I suppose I don't get that either. The hatred for America, But let's be clear about this. Hillsdale College is an exception to the rule. These children have been taught that America's terrible, that it's racist, that it is inherently flawed from 1619, and all this other garbage that's been piled into their social media feeds. Yes. No wonder they hate it. They've been told to hate it. They've been educated to hate it at the elementary level, at the high school level, at the college level. We need to turn that corner, don't we?
I absolutely agree. And you know what? One thing we need to do is to recognize that the academic debate at the higher education level needs to be fought and won. That's where the real crazies are. But the real forming of citizens and Americans is from the point they grow up in their families. through high school when they learn the basic things about American history and why they should love their country. There is something called patriotic assimilation for immigrants, which we don't do as much anymore as we should. We should do that for Americans. They need to learn the key things about why this country is a good country. It has flaws, it has mistakes, it has things and things in history. History is messy, but gosh, it's overcome so much, and it is a beautiful, wonderful country. And its history is one of ennobling strife. It's just a fabulous way, and we need to teach that to our students. And I do think, even though we see socialists being elected in New York and the higher education system going crazy, there are a lot of people in this country who still think it's a darn good country, kind of the old liberal types, but also conservatives, people who just grow up in living their lives successfully throughout the country in peace, in freedom. And I think that's who we start appealing to more and making the positive argument. What I find when I speak to students, when I speak to crowds, is they're tired of their country being run down. They want to hear the good stuff. And when I grew up, I was in middle school in 1976 for the bicentennial. That shaped me. We should be thinking about how this is going to shape people now for the next 5, 10, 20 years. That's the future, and our future is to recapture those minds and hearts. And as we have political successes and things like that, that's separate, connected but important. But what we really need to do is to reteach this history and have people recapture those truths in the Declaration of Independence.
Because they are self-evident. Doctor, God bless America. Celebrate 250.
God bless
stand
America,
tall and
happy
proud.
4th of July.
Yes, happy 4th of July to you, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. All right.
All right. I'll take a break and be right back. In the spirit of America, if you don't think your vote matters, listen to this story out of South Dakota. Sioux Falls, the largest city in South Dakota, 210,000 people. The race for mayor is between Christine Erickson, a state legislator, and State Senator Jamie Smith. 210,000 people live in the place. About 36,500 people voted in the election. They're currently separated by 2 votes. 2. The Republican, Christine Erickson, is ahead by 2 votes, 18,280 to 18,278. So it's a competitive city in a reliably red state. A Republican has been term limited out, and so that's where we are. Mayor Paul Tenhaken, he's leaving because of term limits. But if you think your vote doesn't count, 2 votes separate this deal. In my congressional district a number of years ago, Mike Rogers won by just a handful of votes. Now he's running for U.S. Senate. I believe he's going to win. I believe that he's going to win over this radical Democrat Party. But when you think your vote doesn't matter, just think about South Dakota. We anticipate a recount. We hope that these results stay true and stay even further than we are tonight, said Erickson, looking at the ballots. No additional ballots are going to be considered, according to Leah Anderson, the Minnehaha County Auditor. Yes, the county is Minnehaha. Look, I don't make this stuff up. I just work here. Smith not conceding the race. I wouldn't either, over 2 votes. Smith was the Democrat nominee for governor in that state in 2022 and sought to deliver a win to Democrats in the politically competitive city, but she did not. She did not. Meanwhile, Iraq might be the next country to leave OPEC. The UAE left. If Iraq leaves, the second biggest producer of oil in OPEC behind Saudi Arabia, could say, we're done here. Oil at $69 today, by the way. Gas should be cheaper, but here we are. I'll take a break and be back on Daybreak. All right, welcome back to it as we climb back into this. We were just talking about this earlier in the program. Regulation Nation. All this permitting, all this red tape, all of these rules from these government agencies crippling America's ability to build things. I mean, you look at what happened in the aftermath of the fires in California. Not a single house has been rebuilt in California, following those devastating fires in Malibu in that area. Why? Permits. You can't get through the red tape. And I don't think they ever will. I think that's part of the strategy for California. Paul Teller is the president of Teller Strategies and a Trump-Pence White House veteran of all 4 years. He joins me now. Thank you for being here, Paul.
Hey, morning. Great to be back with you.
Yeah, Regulation Nation. I mean, all these regulations, all these permits, all of this red tape, all this nonsense from the EPA and everything else you can imagine. Government agencies wield this tremendous power, not just at the federal level, at the state level as well. Absolutely. And this paralysis, you say, is a gift to China.
Well, that's it. Always good to be with you, by the way. Great to be back. Come on anytime. Yeah. So my good buddy John Hart of a group called Open the Books. Hopefully you're familiar with them. They're looking mainly at increasing transparency in federal spending. So he and I just recently did an op-ed that you just referenced that basically said, look, this may be cute to some in Washington or other layers of government, but every time we have these permitting delays, it just gives China an additional competitive leg up, whether it be energy projects, transportation projects, tech, right? Like broadband deployment, anything like that. China seems to either be catching us or is ahead of us on just deploying infrastructure. And when you can get new and modern infrastructure online quicker and better, it just means you're going to do better, right? Your economy is going to do better. Your jobs are going to be more prolific and come online quicker. And we're just really falling behind. The good news is, as we do talk about as well, is that folks like Lee Zeldin over at the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, are really taking a whack to some of these regulations to the greatest extent he can within the law. Obviously, Congress needs to act too, and they're trying. But as you know, Congress action and Congress are not often in the same sentence. That seems to be the case with permitting reform as well.
Absolutely true. You know, Congress is behind on all this permitting, except in some areas. When it comes to Chinese solar panels, they'll clear the road for it. When it comes to windmills made by Siemens Corporation out of Germany, they'll clear the road. They'll clear fields. So it's not proportional, I don't think. When it comes to nuclear power, it takes 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. It's ridiculous. Donald Trump just proposed 8 new major nuclear power plants in America. We need those. I mean, that's what France runs on almost primarily. And so we need to look at the energy future, and that's one of them. The biggest roadblocks are to energy infrastructure, right?
You're 100% correct. And right, how far have things fallen in America when we're looking up to the French for inspiration, right? No offense, but it's not something we're used to doing here in the United States, at least in the last couple of centuries. So, I mean, it's really unfortunate. It's un-American, I think we can really look at it. And it's very un-Trumpian, too, which is why he's taking efforts to speed things up, right? I mean, I was a New Yorker growing up. We always knew Donald Trump as the guy who not only builds, but builds fast and builds well with jobs. And he always was beloved by folks on his construction sites. I have very vivid memories of those as a child, knowing how much he was loved because he was getting things done. And so I know he's taking strong steps there. Part of the problem, too, is out of his hands, not only because some of it should and must go through Congress, but as you pointed out in your opener there, sometimes it's multiple layers where it's not even just the federal government. It's the state government. Maybe you've even got a county government issue. Throw on top of that lawsuits from environmental groups and other places. And all these layers just slow things down. It's un-American. It's not how we got to the moon so quick. It's not how we're the leader in space, thanks to Elon Musk, right? I mean, in other words, he got around a lot of the things that government couldn't get around through innovation. So we just need more of that, more American ingenuity, innovation, get government out of the way as much as possible.
It's remarkable that all of these agencies, unelected bureaucrats, sit here gumming up the works. And that is as polite as I can be on a family program. But honestly, I've got stronger words. But it's detrimental because China's building at scale. China's building a new coal-fired power plant weekly, sometimes 2 a week. And they're not even using them. They're building them for future reference. I don't think anybody over here gets that. They know that there's going to be incredible needs for power in the next 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. And we're sitting here bulldozing coal-fired power plants and saying, oh, well, windmills will get us there. No, they won't. But the windmill can get permitted. The coal-fired power plant stands zero chance of getting the permit. Pretty close, right?
No, exactly right. And there's a lot of cognitive dissonance going on, right? Meaning like we all love our high-tech lifestyle, right? We love to be able to just plug in our phone, our laptop, our iPad, wherever we are, and the power is just there, right? We just assume there's electricity coming out of the wall, coming out of the car, coming out of those little black chargers we carried around. No, right? Those things don't just have power. They have to be put there by hardworking Americans, as you said, at coal-fired power plants, nuclear, oil and gas, you name it. It's not so much solar and wind, a little bit, right? Okay, sure, they'll contribute a little bit to the grid. But unfortunately, even those energy sources rely so much on government subsidies, on Chinese minerals, right? And so we don't want American dependence on foreign, foreign construction, foreign extraction of energy.
You know what's funny? Here's what's funny, Paul. You got these democratic socialists winning in New York, for example. Oh, yeah. And they want to be like China, except they don't want power plants and infrastructure. They don't want any of that, of course. They want to sit around and sing Kumbaya and ride a donkey to work, apparently.
Exactly.
I don't get it.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, right? It's how does it benefit America, any American, left, right, and center, to have less available energy or more expensive energy, less reliable energy, not getting it at all. So this should be a unifier. And I think it is. If you stop the man and woman on the street and you say, shouldn't these energy projects and other projects, pipelines, et cetera, come online faster? Shouldn't it be easier to get done? And shouldn't America lead in this space? Yes, right? The average person is going to say yes. It's just these government bureaucrats at multiple levels and these do-gooder environmentalists who sue at the drop of a hat and just think that they're slowing things down for somehow the sake of protecting America, and all they're doing is harming Americans. It's really outrageous.
I have an idea. Maybe we should just cut the power to Al Gore's house and Elizabeth Warren's house and Bernie Sanders. Just cut the power to all those people's houses and say, well, you don't want energy, right? You don't want energy policy that benefits Americans, so we're going to save starting with you. Maybe that will get their attention. Last word to you, Paul.
No, absolutely. Well, in fact, we should try that. Anyone who's truly critical and thinks we should slow these projects down, the challenge to you is to spend a day without using any petroleum product, any coal product, or anything powered by those products. Let's see how you do. Let's see how you get through today. Let me tell you, it wouldn't be a good day for you.
It would not be a good day. Look, I like lights. Lights, camera, action. I like all that stuff. Paul, always good talking to you, my friend.
Great to be with you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Look, celebrate America by being an American. How about that? Celebrate America by getting rid of red tape and building things. Americans build great things. Cut the red tape. Let's get it done. God bless America. Coming up in a moment, Ivy's going to be here. In the meantime, you can always send me an email, stevegruber.com. Follow me on YouTube, Steve Gruber on YouTube. The official One Nation video will release tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So you can catch the new song, become a subscriber for free. We would appreciate it. Plus all the podcasts of Forgotten America. I mean, it's a treasure trove of goodness. That's what the YouTube channel is, a treasure trove of goodness. You should be in there. I'll be right back. If you think we're getting pushy so far, wait till tomorrow. Oh, yeah, just wait, Ivy. They think I'm pushy now. Wait till tomorrow.
Who thinks you're pushing?
I don't know if I'm going to sleep tonight.
Oh, I think
I'm serious, man. It's like I liken it, John. I said this earlier, being one of those old '50s movies where dad's in the waiting room for the baby to be born. Chain smoking Pall Malls.
And so you're referring to the release of our new upcoming song, One Nation?
I am. I'm really interested. I mean, we've had great response from the test marketing we've done. Test marketing being, people, just send it blind. Don't tell them what it is. Just listen to this. Mm-hmm. And they have had about a 90% approval rating.
That's good.
About 90%. And whatever. Not everybody's going to like it, I suppose.
What are your, do you have any particular favorite areas of the song, favorite lyrics, anything like that?
I like the whole thing. I really think that Laura Kokenar, who's our partner in crime in this, in fact, I just sent it to test market to one other person. Rodney, our good friend Rodney, said, I just sent to him 10 minutes ago. This song is great. So good. Anyhow, so favorite parts of the song, to be honest with you, it's so good all the way through. The song evolves. It comes to a crescendo, but I like the way that it drops back for a reflective ending.
It's good. I like that.
Yeah, it's very reflective at the end.
As I mentioned earlier, I think my favorite lyrics are the ones that are just out of the gate, which are cultivate the hearts of the people to unite in the faith and form a bond of brotherly love to what no man could ever break. And isn't that a great summary of America?
It is. And something, we live in a day and age where we've been talking about this all morning, with Dr. Spalding and others this morning about the division in America. Mm-hmm. Because kids have been taught America's bad. We had slavery and this and that, and America was founded on slavery, and therefore it's flawed from its beginning. No, it's not.
Yeah, I wonder, Steve, if America is not as divided as the mainstream media portrays it to be. Because when you go out in the world and you actually begin to talk to people, you realize, hey, we have a lot more in common than we thought.
Yeah. We do have a lot more in common than we thought.
And then, I think that our lives and technology in our lives, whether you want to watch Netflix or you're doom scrolling on your phone, we've become an isolated society. We're more connected and more disconnected than ever. And I think we need to get back to being societal creatures, get out in your community, talk to people, have get-togethers.
You make a great point. And the point is this, and we've talked about this a lot, but you make it again today, and I like it, which is we're more connected and more isolated than ever. Mm-hmm. Put the damn phone down.
Yeah.
And this is why Ivy says you need to be socialized. It's Friday night. She drags me out of the house and says, we go somewhere. We'll go out to eat somewhere. And Ivy and I, we always like to sit at the bar. It's just because there's more action there. You used to work in that industry. You'll grade the people working there. They're
generally
doing this right.
You get more one-on-one service because
right. But what really happens is you end up talking to the people to the right of you and to the left of you, and you meet new people and you have conversations, and I love that. And we need more of that, not less of that. We need more interaction. We are gregarious creatures. We need to be in groups and packs and talk and set the phone down. And talking about that, when they removed the cell phones from lunchtime at schools, crazy thing happened. Kids started talking to each other, laughing, getting to know people, meeting new people. I mean, it works at every level. It works with adults. It works with kids. It works.
But there's so many times, and I know we talk about this a lot, but we go out to dinner and we have a very strict no phone policy at our dinner table. And we look around and we just notice how many other people are just on their phones. And you never even have a conversation with one another. So it's just unfortunate. We have to get back to having conversations. And that's why we like sitting at the bar, because if you're sitting at a table, you don't get to meet new people.
No, you meet your waiter or your waitress.
Exactly, which is, that's one person or two. But when you're, oftentimes it's a lot more social environment. So that's why we like to do that.
Absolutely.
Because we like to get to know more people. And that's, I think in today's society, we've lost that a bit. I always talk about when you go to the grocery store, no one wants to look you in the eyes.
I keep testing that theory too. Somebody said on this program a while back, nobody will look anybody in the eye anymore. They're either staring at their phone or they just stare at their feet. They won't look around. I play this game all the time. They were right. Only about 10% of the people you walk through and see at a grocery store or Home Depot or wherever you might be will actually look at you.
You know, I feel like, too, we've traded front porches for online wars.
So true. What a great way to put it.
And we scroll and coexist. We don't like get out there and even, you know, since COVID, I find, like, say our church groups, some gals that I talk to, there was a lot more involvement in, hey, let's get together and have all of these events that go on. And just in this one, you know, circumstance that I'm involved in, we don't hold those anymore. And the gal that I was talking to, she was like, we don't hold any of these big events anymore since COVID. I'm like, that's so unfortunate. Why don't you get it started again?
Yeah. Why don't you? I mean, you can sit around and complain about it, or you can do something about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
and you're the kind of person that can do something about it, my dear.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Maybe.
You know what the problem is? Here's the problem that I foresee. Let me forecast the future.
I can't put more things on my plate. You might get mad at
No.
me.
My kitchen will be overtaken for 2 days. What are you doing? Well, I'm cooking for the event. Isn't anybody else bringing anything, babe? No. I volunteered for this and this and this. Yeah, it's true, isn't it?
I might have a heart to give to others.
Yeah, and you might have a tendency to think, well, 3 people are coming over, I'll cook for 30.
I do that for us, too. I'm like, ooh, well, I guess we have lots of leftovers and great for food prep.
Yeah, good stuff.
Well, I'm very excited about the release of One Nation. Our dear friend and pastor, Laura Kokenauer, is along with us, and she does an incredible job. So I can't wait for all of you to hear it, download it, and enjoy it.
Yeah. In fact, I'll play the preview after the break. Ivy, love you.
Love you.
I'll be right back. Yeah, I did. You know, if I just kept my mouth shut, we wouldn't have had this problem. Anyhow. Yeah, Anthony, I have an earworm. It's, One Nation just keeps playing over and over
me
and
too.
over. Yeah, I know. He keeps singing it.
I might have played it in Office like 10 billion times yesterday as I was finalizing the edits of our music video.
Yeah.
10 billion times? Okay, that's a little much.
It was a lot, Brock, because we're going through it frame by frame, the video, picking the right iconic images. By the way, the video, official release of the One Nation video, 10 a.m. tomorrow morning on YouTube. You can catch it on our YouTube channel, and it's going to go global, I guess. Anyhow.
Other than your new song that's coming out tomorrow, what's your favorite patriotic song?
Ray Charles.
Oh, yes.
Yes, America the Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Ray Charles, he's remarkable. Okay, we got 60 seconds. Roll that beautiful footage.
From prayer to purpose to a promise that still stands. From Rav's own Steve Gruber comes One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project. A powerful new American anthem for the 4th of July. Faith, freedom, and unity in every line. A new release through Real America's Music. One Nation. Pre-save it now. Scan the QR code or search One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project on iTunes.
One nation under God, may we always be the home of the brave and the land of the free. For every battle, blood was lost. God bless America, sea to shining sea.
And there you have it. There goes my sleep tonight. There it goes. Anyhow, there it is, Ivy. We come out tomorrow. It drops at midnight on iTunes. You guys can hear the whole song midnight at iTunes, Ivy. Got to run. Love you.
Love you, Steve.
Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is Daybreak. And remember, only you can save America.